Coming to you live from Studio 6 in Seattle, keeping you up to date on technology while enjoying a little whiskey on the side. With leading edge topics, along with special co-hosts to navigate technology in a segmented, stylized radio program. The information that's going to make you go, Now sit back, raise a glass, and welcome to TechTime Radio with your host, Nathan Mumm. Welcome to TechTime Radio with Nathan Mumm, the show that makes you go, Technology news of the week for August 23rd, 2020. I'm Nathan Mumm, and on today's show, we're excited to have our show back to normal. Yep. After a big episode 10, it's nice to be back into the normal.
Back to normal.
Normal groove of things.
No more yellows.
No
streamers.
No streamers. No
classy glass.
Champagne. We're back to the whiskey glasses. That's right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Real glass.
So, today's show, we out of our two core elements again. We got our Protect Ourselves Today, which focuses on cybercrime. And then we have our top stories in the first 5 minutes, which goes through all of the main stories of today's technology news. And we're going to have our MEG segment that is going to be talking a lot about Microsoft's Flight Simulator and how it can spur billions in PC hardware sales on our Technology Insider. So
those dastardly...
I know the new Flight Simulator came on out, and what it does is it now makes you have to upgrade your computer. So we're going to go through the minimum requirements of the game itself. We're going to go through the maximum requirements, and we're going to talk about what people used to do back in the 80s and 90s when new games came on out, and what people are going to have to do to participate in this new PC game. We're also going to be talking about a really cool thing on our gadgets and gears. It's called a Prosathus. It's a full 20-foot mech that is a part of a mech racing league. So it's their sponsorship right now on gadgets and gear for this on Kickstarter. So you can actually sponsor a time to ride the mech, to learn about the mech. And because we're going to be doing mech games soon with adventures in mech, we always have our whiskey tastings. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if our pick of the day, if it gets a thumbs up from you, if it gets a thumbs down from you, if I give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And today, our pick of the day that we're going to be talking about is Whistle Pig Straight Rye Whiskey. So this is 100 proof bottle. The price is about $99 and more. So $99 is the low end price that I found available online. Whistle Pig Straight, aged 10 years. It's distilled and matured in Canada, and then it gets shipped down to Vermont, where it ages the remaining process and time on the Whistle Pig farm.
It kind of makes me curious why they do part of it in Canada and then ship it to Vermont.
I don't know. Maybe they can do more. Can they do maybe a different processing that they have up there?
I don't know. Maybe it's the stuff they use up in Canada that makes it what it is.
Maybe there's some secrets to it.
Maybe.
But it supposedly has some very unique taste, so I'm excited about this.
I expected to be apologetic.
Yeah. All right, so now, Mike, everybody knows who you are on our show. Mm-hmm. So instead of asking you how your weekend goes, what we did is we've gone out, the show has gone high scale, and they've purchased a loaded questions on the go card game. So,
okay.
So we're going to ask us a loaded question. So, what is the strangest thing you have ever taken a picture of? That's our question today to start out the show.
What is the strangest thing I've ever taken a picture of?
That's correct.
This is a PG-rated show, right?
We're on the internet, though. We drink a little bit of alcohol.
That's right. I'm not a huge picture taker. I decapitated a rattlesnake head once when I was living in Arizona and threw the body in a bucket and watched the
head move around?
The body move around for 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yep.
I watched the show last night, To Tell the Truth, and they had somebody there that was bitten by a snake on there, and it says that the head can still last and the body can still last up to 20 minutes after they've been severed.
That was fascinating. The head continued to... Now, if I recall, it was my neighbor who chopped the head off.
Okay. Disclaimer,
it wasn't me.
Right?
Yeah.
That was disclaimer. Okay, great.
Yeah, disclaimer.
Okay.
But the body continued to strike at the edge of the bucket for 20 minutes.
For 20 minutes, okay.
Yeah, it was fascinating. So I took a lot of pictures and video of that. See, now I'm gonna go home and start thinking about all the weird things I've seen in my life and wonder if I've ever taken pictures of them.
So when I grew up, I mean, same when you grew up, we didn't have cell phones when we went to school.
No.
So most of the crazy stuff that you do with your buddies back then, you just do it. And you'd have to have a picture in your mind of.
Yeah, I am definitely not from the generation that will whip up their camera and start filming something before everybody starts running.
Yeah, that's good because we used to play this game called Mailbox Baseball. I'm sure no one has ever heard of it.
No.
But no. Okay, that's good. But I would have hate to have videotaped that because we would have been some stupid idiots and we would have videotaped that if we had phones at the time. And I'd be like, oh, look how cool we are.
Yeah, that's like a federal crime.
Yeah, as we have cops come to our house. That'd be fantastic. All right. Okay, well, so let's start with our samplings of the Whistle Pig. So this is our first one right here.
Wah.
Wah. What's a wah stand for?
That's got bite to
That's
it.
got bite. It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's got a little bit like of a caramel taste to it. I taste a little bit of caramel. So yeah, Whistle Pig. We'll see how we do on the Whistle Pig. All right, here we go right now. The top stories in the first 5 minutes. What's happening in technology? Nathan's top stories in the first 5 minutes. All right, story number 1. How to make the most of Facebook's new redesign. Oh, my wife is loving this. I don't know about you're loving this, but old Facebook is going away. Long live the new Facebook. A redesign that will soon become permanent. So whether you like it or not, pretty much Facebook doesn't really give you an opportunity to not like it. So unlike the current test of the new Facebook, there is no way to switch back if you're not a fan. So you get a window that pops up and you hit accept and you're moving forward.
Yep.
But
just like the grocery store.
just like the grocery store, when the grocery...
Once you get used to the layout in the grocery store, some merchandiser jerk comes and rearranges everything.
And then all of a sudden the bread aisle's like 4 more aisles down the area. I totally get with you. But with the new Facebook, there are some cool benefits. So first is the new sidebars. So all you need to do is click on the See More icon in Facebook's leftmost primary sidebar, so far left, because it's going to blow up and show you more things than you've ever wanted to see. So it brings down a list that literally has to scroll through, at least for me, 2.5 scrolls on my mouse wheel. So I'm like scrolling. But there are shortcuts for each of those items. So you need to go through, and there's a way that you can actually take the clutter out of that by going through the new shortcuts section, which is the bottom portion on the left sidebar. So very bottom on the left side. All you'll see is that all of the information that's in that bar there are all shortcuts. So you can click on and edit, and you're able to pin them wherever you want. So you can move them to the top of the list, or you can even have the shortcuts remove those items there. But by default, on the new look and feel for Facebook, they're going to include all the stuff that you have there first, so you can go through and customize that.
Cool. The only thing I've really heard about is how awesome the dark one is.
So I like the new dark settings. I do like dark settings, and much easier than to take a look at the white. You get the white color background or the dark, and the dark seems to be really nice. Also, there's new news feed preferences, which are absolutely worth exploring. So if you want even the slightest bit of curation of new content, all you have to do is go and take a look at that underneath your Facebook account. You can add friends that you've had before. You can go back to somebody that you defriended them and give them a second chance. So you can follow them again or unfollow them.
You can put them on probation.
So you can put them on probation. And then the favorite feature that I have is this mighty snooze. So it takes people out of their temporary penalty box. So if you get mad at somebody, especially right now during this next 30 to 90 days of political information, you can put a snooze on them. You can just put them in a little pause, timeout, and then you can take a look at them without saying that you've defriended them, without saying that you hate them. You just don't have to see any of their information that's there, and then it can come right back.
I think if I'm going to snooze somebody, I'm going to just get rid of them.
You're just going to get rid of them?
Yeah.
All right, story number 2. A majority of Americans think social media sites are politically based.
No way.
Americans increasingly believe social media companies like Facebook and Twitter are censoring political speech despite a lack of any hard evidence of such basis. So, according to a recent survey, 4,780 U.S. adults conducted in the Pew Research Center from June 16th to June 22nd, 73% of the respondents said that they believe that social media sites are purposely censoring political views they find objectionable. So interesting is that both the Republican Party and Democratic Party, evenly split, came up with the same exact information saying that they're being censored. But according to an actual Corny McSherry, legal director of the Electronic Frontier, a nonprofit civil liberties organization dedicated to protecting online speech, has actually found there's no real evidence of bipartisan political bias from the social networks. No. They're not surprised that many people think that, though, because the political leaders and pundits keep on saying that my true information is never posted, and they have spent the same amount of time removing information from the Republican Party and President Donald Trump as they have the Democratic Party and Joe Biden and other sources. So you may think that they are politically trying to take your information away, but they are not. All right, and our next story number 3, Uber and Lyft had time to comply with the law, but they did not. Earlier last week, both Uber and Lyft threatened to shut down in California as a result of ruling that would force them to reclassify their drivers as employees. Lyft even announced that it would stop operations in California. The companies have had years to multiply and come up with inventions to obey the law, says Eden Alva, a gig worker who's part of both Uber and Lyft as a gig driver. And she is fighting to make sure that employees are recognized for the workers' rights they have. And that is the time of our story. So I did not get through story number 4. Story 4 was 6 ways your school Zoom calls could get better for this fall. So if you need to take a look at that, absolutely do that. And the Uber information and Lyft information on what they have going on the laws, that's going to be an interesting fight for everybody.
If you want to be an employee, then you get to have your schedule determined for you.
Yep.
Yeah, you have to, there's a lot of things that you have to do. So, this kind of thing confuses me, but because it comes out of California, I'm no longer surprised.
You're no longer surprised. All right. And that is our top stories in the first 5 minutes. We're going to take a break, and we will be right back to TechTime Radio. I'm your host, Nathan Mumm.
New Advil Dual Action with acetaminophen fights pain in 2 ways. Advil targets pain at the source, while acetaminophen blocks pain signals. The future of pain relief is here. New Advil Dual Action.
Welcome back to TechTime Radio. I'm your host, Nathan Mumm, and as we start the segment, we're going to continue sipping on our Whistle Pig straight rye whiskey. Now, again, people ask me online where I find my facts and stories a little bit here and there. So they're all Nathan created. So I scourge the internet. Or
you scour?
I scour. Scourge.
You can scourge it too.
You can scourge.
I suppose.
So I look in and I find interesting stories, and then I have a little folder that I just keep that information in. And you can always check out all of our information on our website at techtimeradio.com and go all the way down kind of towards the bottom of the page for the facts section. So we have the link, the information, so you don't have to think that we're making up stories on the fly. That's other networks that get to do that. So let's have our second tasting.
Yeah, there's a really nice aroma. It's almost vanilla, almost.
Vanilla, that's what I got too. A little bit of vanilla, or maybe even a little butterscotch type.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Let's move on to our next segment, which is called Protect Yourself Today.
Protect Yourself Today.
Welcome to Protect Yourself Today. This is the news that is about cyber attacks, breaches, cybercrime, payout, and ransomware, and more. Former Uber CSO is charged with covering up a 2016 data breach. Joe Sullivan is accused of making hush money Bitcoin payoffs to hackers. Uber former chief security officer Joseph Sullivan has been charged with obstruction of justice for allegedly covering up the 2016 hack attack that compromised sensitive data for 57 million Uber passengers and drivers. All right.
Uber can't get a break, can they?
Uber. I think Uber's kind of ran a little fast and wild. Is my only thing that I can say.
This harkens back to before they got rid of the CEO.
Yes,
or the former owner.
Yep. So the charges were filed last week in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of California, where Sullivan formerly served as a federal prosecutor. Instead of promptly revealing the 2016 hack, Sullivan covered it up by having Uber pay the hackers $100,000 in hush money. The David Anderson, the U.S. attorney for the California district, said last week at a press conference. So there you go. Story number one, Uber has paid off a bunch of hush money to hackers so that your data could be compromised and hopefully not sold on the dark web.
Right.
Story two, University, this is what's killing us. University of Idaho pays ransom to avoid data disclosure. The cyber insurance covered a portion all the way up to $500,000 of the expense for the bill for this. The University of Utah paid ransom to stop a hacker from disclosing data stolen in a July ransomware attack on the network of its College of Social and Behavioral Sciences. After careful consideration, the university decided to work with its cyber insurance provider to pay the fee to the ransomware attacker, the university said in a statement. This was done as a proactive and preventative step to ensure the information was not released on the internet. We're going to be talking a lot about that stuff, where the hackers are two bad things that are happening. Insurance companies now are just paying off the hackers, and the hackers no longer want to destroy anybody's systems. They just want to steal the confidential data, because then they can have that as more leverage of fines in different areas than it would be just to replace your computers.
Yeah, well, you know, if it wasn't so illegal, I might rethink my life choices.
So you get paid out pretty quickly, it seems.
Yeah.
Story three, dozens of arrests in an ATM cash out scheme. Suspected fraudsters targeted Santaire Bank branches in 3 states. So dozens of suspects have been arrested in connection with an ATM cash out scheme that targeted Santaire Bank branches in New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut, according to police and media reports. In Hampton Township, 20 suspects have been charged with various offenses, including conspiracy to commit theft by deception, as well as minor drug charges. Go figure, they're doing drugs at the same time, right? According to a police statement. Police also suspect ATMs in New York City and Connecticut have been hit, according to local NBC News reports. The South Windsor Police Department in Connecticut says fraudsters have attempted to use fake debit cards to withdraw cash.
Apparently, those fakes were not good enough.
They weren't. So they must have gotten a little bit, but not enough, and they were probably on tons of video footage, so they got taken care of. And our next story number 4, Steve Bannon and 3 others indicated for online fraud.
Oh, man.
Prosecutors alleged former Trump campaign managers and others of fleecing online donors. So you got to be careful. If you're donating online, you better make sure that is a legit organization. You should do some research on it and just don't believe anybody, even if they do say they're from the Trump campaign. So Steve Bannon, the former White House strategist, and 3 others have been indicted on federal wire fraud and money laundering charges. So I guess they're doing a little Ozark here.
Yeah.
For alleged fencing online donors who contributed money to a campaign to build a wall along the U.S. southern border, the Justice Department announced last week. The money was solicited by Bannon and the others to fund a nonprofit charity called We Build the Wall, which collected over $25 million from online donors to help the U.S. government build a physical wall around the U.S. southern border. Federal prosecutors say, but the 4 suspects allegedly diverted the funds through other charities and shell companies and then used some of the money for personal expenses.
Yeah, that shows you how much they believe in the wall.
Yes. Bannon, 66, along with Brian Kolfage, 38, who founded the organization, and Andrew Badaletto, 56-year-old, Timothy Shea, 49, are all charged with 1 count each of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering. Each of these charges carries a maximum sentence of 20 years in federal prison. And that is our time. So we got through all 4 stories there. So we have people faking ATMs. We have
People faking the wall.
building a wall, faking charities, and then we have people paying hush money to hackers on the side not to release information.
Yeah.
And insurance companies paying out premiums.
How about that?
So,
Whatever happened to we don't negotiate with terrorists? Whatever happened to that?
I don't know, because now we just give them all the money they can when they ask for it, so that we don't have to replace the PCs.
Yeah, I mean, what's the guarantee that those hackers aren't going to sell off that information to somebody else?
So it's already on the
release it?
dark web. I guarantee you it's in some dark web area. And so they can try to come after them again or another time and see what happens then. Because, when you pay off ethical criminals, you know that they're going to take care of what they say that they're going to do.
You know, they're all gentlemen.
That's right. Wow, Mike, things are at big time risks. These are just things that happened over the last week. Just think of what it will be like next week and the week after and the week after. So
I'm not surprised.
All right,
it's 2020.
It's 2020, so everything's up in the air, right?
Everything's up in the air.
That's right.
I read somewhere there's an asteroid coming to get us. I don't know.
I did read that too. That's coming down from space. And, so head out. We've only had 2 whiskey tastings, but we're having a great time today on TechTime Radio.
I think this is pretty good whiskey.
It is. So everybody stay with us through the commercial break. When we come on back, we have our Technology Insider. We're going to be talking about Microsoft Flight Simulator. All right. See you guys after the break.
I've been at NBC a long time. I've seen so many groundbreaking comedies here. And you know what they all have in common? The Peacock. I'm talking about our boss.
Yeah, we're always lucky when the boss stops by the writer's room. Probably use a better joke on page 3. You lunatic! He's a pretty good joke writer.
I mean, the Peacock knows funny. Great. And is involved in every step of our work. Directing, shaping stories.
Peacock is more than just our leader. He is our mentor. He's our confidant. He's our disciplinarian.
Who's a pretty bird? Pretty bird, pretty bird, pretty bird. Sometimes we forget that he's the boss, so.
You can see his touch, the sort of pastiche of color that he brings to everything that we do at NBC. And we owe it all to this guy right here. Thank you. Thank you. I love you too.
All right. Welcome back to Tech Time Radio. I'm your host, Nathan Mumm, and Mike is enjoying some whiskey during the break. And our whiskey is getting small as we go through here, so we've already done our tasting. Before we get into this next subject, we got to be careful. We keep on tasting this stuff, and we're going to be absolutely all over the place. We may have our own cybercrime thing by the end of this. We'll just create one ourselves.
Yeah.
All right, so our featured story, here it is. Microsoft released Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, the requirements are so high for you to play it at the full resolution that it is going to cause people to upgrade their PCs.
Yeah, jerks.
Yeah. Now, do you remember this as a kid back in the 80s? I had a desktop PC because nobody had laptops at that time. They didn't know what laptops were. And I would save my money all summer long to move from the Adlib sound card to the Sound Blaster. Yeah, the Sound Blaster card, because it got like 7 more channels and it could play like beep, 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 beep in like stereo instead of beep, 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 beep in mono. So, I mean, it was like, and then I had a graphics card and I would get a brand new, NVIDIA didn't even exist at that time. No, it was like ATI cards were the graphic cards that you'd put in that. And oh, yes. And so I'd have to, my 386 would have to, DX40 would have to get a brand new hard drive and brand new RAM. I go from a gig of RAM or 640K to a gig, and then you go to 2 gigs. And
I know. I would like to be really upset about that because part of me gets angry when companies do that stuff, but there's a part of me that wants to get another computer and
get it all souped up.
Yeah. Because I've done that with. I have a video game that I love to play.
Which video game is that?
Ark Survival Evolved.
Okay.
It's one of the funnest games I've ever played, and I had to buy a whole new computer because my old computer just couldn't hack it.
Can handle it. Yeah. Thank goodness I've been a lot on the Xbox games lately, because if I would have gotten Fallout 4, which I love, and I've played like 500 hours on that game, If I had that on a PC, I would have absolutely upgraded because there were so many different hacks on the PC version. Thank goodness I got it for a console version and didn't have to have that happen.
Yeah.
But here's where they're coming out with. So the Flight Simulator 2020 reboot will spur a staggering $2.6 billion in hardware sales. John Petty Research, JPR, estimates, with Flight Simulator announcing their launch on August 17th, the previews of Flight Simulator were huge. It's the most sophisticated flight simulator, if not a game that's released on the PC ever. He essentially believes that the PCs, people are going to upgrade the CPUs, the GPUs, which is your video card, your graphics processor units, monitors, and don't forget about the accessories. So sales regarding flight sticks, throttles, rudder, pedals, and even simulation seats, frames, and VR gaming gear is going to explode. So I actually looked this up myself, tried to find the Logitech setup that goes with the foot pedals and the flight yoke stick.
throttle.
That goes forward, and they are all completely sold out. All over everywhere. The only thing I could do is pay 3 times the price of what it's worth to buy it from some hacker on Amazon that has it in some back place that bought like 20 of them before.
Maybe you can get the University of Utah to pay off the hacker so you can get a throttle.
So get a throttle. So all of these peripheral devices are all sold out right now. So nobody can find them. The Flight Simulator is incredible, demanding on processing capabilities. It rewards high resolution, large displays, and VR use. With the new Flight Simulators are released, the hardware to run them at max settings and performance does not even exist yet.
Yeah, that's crazy.
This creates a situation of constant hardware demand over the life of the title as fans chased for the best experience. So here are the Microsoft minimum recommended and ideal system requirements for this new Microsoft Flight Simulator. Let's talk about this. This is crazy. Okay, so they have a minimum spec for an AMD computer and a minimum spec for an NVIDIA-based computer. So those are the graphics cards in each of those, right? So in the AMD computer, every one of these has to have at least Windows 10 1909, which makes sense. So Windows 10 operating system. The CPU minimum spec is a Ryzen 3 1200, a Radeon RX 5700, 2 gigabytes of VRAM, 8 gigabytes of RAM. 8 gigabytes of RAM now is the minimum requirement. I have never seen a game have 8 gigs of RAM as a minimum requirement. It's always been 4.
4 or 6.
4 or 6. 8 is so the minimum. Your hard drive is a 150 gig hard drive. Now, the only way that people are playing this for the best experience is on a solid state drive. So that is something that they recommend, a solid state drive for all of these. Bandwidth to play online is at least 5 megabytes up and down. Again, the NVIDIA, same exact specs for the minimum requirements, but their Intel i5 processors, the minimum requirements, and an NVIDIA GXT 770 is the minimum video card.
See, I could almost play this on Ideal on my current system.
On Ideal. Okay.
Almost.
Okay, so you could almost do it on Ideal. So we had the minimum, so
it would probably burn out my hard drive.
So recommended in Ideal. So here's the recommended specs. Same exact thing. Recommended specs. The video cards, they actually have you move up to the 590. VRAM is 4 gigs, 16 gigs of RAM, 150 gig hard drive still, and then 20 megs online. And your ideal specs. So this is it.
This is the crazy one.
This is so that you get your best resolution, your best graphics. 32 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs, 150 gigs solid state drive. 8 gigabytes of VRAM, so that's 8 gigabyte video card. So you need to have a minimum of 8 gig. Your GPU is a Radeon 7, and then your Ryzen 7 2700X is your CPU speed. Intel i7, so I guess they didn't tell you you had to go to an i9, which is kind of funny. I would figure the i9 would be there as the ideal spec, but yeah, i7. 8 gigs of RAM video card, 32 gigs, and 150 gigabyte solid state drive.
Yeah, I have the i7, but I don't have the GPU. The VRAM, I don't know if it can do that, but I definitely don't have the 32.
So here's the numbers. 26 billion is the figure that seems unbelievable, right? But it's based on 2.27 million copies of Flight Simulator being sold. If each of those users spend an average of about $1,000 of additional hardware to run Flight Simulator, that would get you to the 2.6 billion with your 2.27 million copies of Flight Simulator being sold.
That's crazy.
And the 2.27 million copies of Flight Simulator is the standard sales of the 2 previous Microsoft Flight Simulators. So what's really nice about this is if I want the game, I'm a Microsoft alumni, so I can go onto the company store and I pay for it, and boom, it's downloaded
Boom,
in
there you got
17 hours. By the time my internet speed gets taken care of and Comcast thanks me, it'll be ready to go and I'll have my download available.
Yeah.
All right, so if you don't need a new computer, all you need to do is go on out and buy the new Flight Simulator game, and it will allow you to tell your wife's significant other that you need a new computer for this holiday season. So start shopping now, because computer products and software and hardware is going to be at an all-time high this Christmas season if we're still in this COVID-19 working from home.
Yeah, all we ever did with our Flight Simulator game was crash it. That's all we did.
Like go out and find a historical thing like Space Needle, and let's see what happens when I crash into it. That's right. All right, well, that is it. We're going to take a break right now. Thank you guys for listening to TechTime Radio. I'm your host, Nathan Mumm. We got Mike Gourdet here, and we will see you right after this commercial break.
Your business deserves the same expertise as that of a Fortune 500 company. If you need a CIO-level service, why hire a full-time staff member at $250,000 a year when you can get this on-demand service for fractions of the cost? Get an on-demand CIO working for you to protect and keep your business running. To find out more, go to www.ee-services.com. That's ee-services.com.
Welcome back to the show. You're listening to TechTime Radio with Nathan Mumm and co-host Mike Gourdet. We have our third and final whiskey tasting before the pick of the day. And we have our largest item ever talked about on Gadgets and Gear with Proceethus, our MECH Racing Alpha MECH pilot program. But before we did that, let's make sure we have our new tasting.
It bites.
It's got some bite there,
bites
doesn't it? It bites
big.
back at you, doesn't it? All right. Whistle Pig Straight Rye Whiskey, aged 10 years. Distilled and matured in Canada before going to Vermont and becoming at the Whistle Pig Farm tasting. Again, $99. And then it has a little bit of a kick. I mean, when it hits down there, I mean, it does a little bit of burning. Not like it's burning your throat, though.
No.
But when it's down in here, there's a little bit of some, you're still feeling it a little bit later. All right. So, Mike, have you ever wanted to become a pilot? That's our next.
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
Have you ever wanted to pilot a mech?
Of course.
Did you ever play those Mech Warrior games where they come on down?
Battletech.
I think it was Battletech 1 and then Battletech 2. Microsoft actually released like a couple versions when they had
Mech Warrior.
They had a Mech Warrior, and I thought it was pretty good. Well, here's your opportunity. What's new in gadgets and gear? Okay, 14 years ago, they had a grand vision of a global racing league that would pit multi-world class athletes in head-to-head competitions through a complex technical obstacle course, wearing giant powered mech suits. For over a decade, they have built a community and gathered knowledge in the pursuit of this dream. With the perseverance and the help of a small army of volunteers and students and sponsors behind us, they are able to complete our flagship prototype mech. In 2017, the mech was called Proceethus. It took more than 3 years of grueling field trials with equal parts engineering and piloting to get these machines up and going. But that was just the beginning, because they want to create a sport that requires more than just technology, a true sport that is the intimate human drive to master a physical skill with the technology now, to have unique positioning and being able to have our future fans have the ability to pilot a mech yourself and join our pioneering team as we embark on the next phase of our plan, creating the sport we call Alpha MECH pilot program. Kickstarter.com projects. It's number one on Kickstarter, and we will have a link on here, so you can go to techtimeradio.com and click on the link. They have full funding for their project. It was a $30,000 project. They have already received over $40,000 to have this. This is located, the best part is, this is located in Vancouver.
Oh, that's right up the road.
That's right up the road for us here in the Pacific Northwest. So we literally could go and donate and go up there and play. And this MECH is huge.
So is this instead of performing enhancing drugs, is performing enhancing technology? Is that kind of what this is about?
I think it is. And I mean, they have MECHs. I mean, they look like, if you've ever watched the TV shows where they have the MECHs, or the movies where these MECHs come on out and fighting Godzilla and Avatar, all this. This is a MECH that you get into. It's got a closing harness that goes around you, and you literally control it with your feet, with your arms. You're moving around in this MECH, literally like an Avatar, when the guy would move his hands around, or you move up and down. Even Iron Man had like a couple MECHs where Iron Man is going up and down, and they're all mimicking him. Essentially, this is what the MECH does, and they have a huge farm. Huge flat land that they've done and built these MECHs so that you can go on out and you can compete against each other. Now they can't have it fight. They don't have it fighting right now.
Oh,
so
that's gonna be that's gonna be soon.
So right now it's going through an obstacle course. You're running through and picking up items and moving stuff around.
This is just a test for the whole fighting thing.
This is you know what, the robot fighting. You know those sock'em robots you used to have as little kids, and you hit it on their heads and they punch. I mean, this is the beginning, but they have a full working prototype. And if you want to donate. Minimum bids, I think they were in the thousands of range. So it's
I'll get right on that.
So it's a little bit of money to do. You can help fund their project, and their project is not to build a MECH anymore. Their project is to create a league of MECHs as a part of the Alpha MECH pilot program. So
you said their Kickstarter, they raised $40,000, so they basically have a little under 40 people that's helping them out. Is that how that works?
So I think they had a couple big donors, is what I would think that they have. So what they've also been able to do, which was very interesting, and I actually sent an email up to the guy and asked if I can interview him. So we may get him on
that would be fun.
Upcoming show. Yeah, that's kind of the lead, and I think we probably will. But essentially, they also still receive grants and education grants because it's in learning and it's in engineering and robotics. So they get volunteers through some of the STEM programs that they have available there to come in and do certain stuff. And then they also have donations for educational areas that help them learn the mechanics of these devices. So they have 3 or 4 different funding sources, but this is specifically to help the Alpha MECH pilot program. So instead of just having one MECH, you could have 2 or 3 of the MECHs, so you can go out there and have a good time. You ever go-kart racing?
Yep.
Do you know the number one rule when you go kart racing is what? Don't bump into each other, right?
Is that a rule?
Well, so that's just they have those rules, and I just love to do it. But if you bump too hard, then of course the equipment gets taken care of. So my question is once you have 2 of these or 3 of these,
you know what's going to happen.
Some egomaniac guy is going to donate enough money, and he's going to be like, okay, buddy,
let's fight him.
Let's go and see who lasts.
Yeah,
right?
Let's see how long they're going to last under my barrage of karate chops.
Yeah, so you're going over there slicing left and right, and metals coming on down.
You know this is where this is going.
I hope so. I mean, that would be the best part. Wouldn't it? That's what I want to do, right?
Yeah, instead of American gladiators, we're going to see American mech warriors.
That's right. Alpha MECH pilot program. These guys are really ahead on what they're doing, so it's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's cool.
All right, so that ends our segment. We are going to take a commercial break, and then we'll come right on back, and we got our pick of the day.
Woohoo.
Your business deserves the same expertise as that of a Fortune 500 company. If you need a CIO-level service, why hire a full-time staff member at $250,000 a year when you can get this on-demand service for fractions of the cost? Get an on-demand CIO working for you to protect and keep your business running. To find out more, go to www.ee-services.com. That's ee-services.com.
Welcome back to TechTime Radio. This is Nathan Mumm. I'm your host, and on today's program, we have already talked about the Alpha MECH pilot program. We have talked about Microsoft and how their new flight simulator game is essentially making you buy a new computer or components, making you get rid of that laptop, which doesn't have the ability to do what you need to, and go back to the desktop units so that you can have your ultimate flight simulator device, house, crib, whatever you want to call it. I'd love to see somebody do a flight simulator she shed or he shed. You know what I mean? Get one of those 10 by 10 sheds.
Oh yeah,
and just
there's people out there that's got that stuff.
So
already.
if you are one of those people and you're a listener to our show, you send me a picture at host@techtimeradio.com, and I will interview you and talk to you until the days come home. So let me just tell you that. So just send me an email at host@techtimeradio.com
until the days come home.
That's right. Because you know what I'll do? I'll make sure that then I can follow up and do the same thing myself. Okay. Well, we also had all of our great news about Facebook changing their interfaces and Uber getting in trouble for not only their CFO paying off people for illegally stealing their data on a back-end channel, and then we had money laundering, and we had great stuff today. So, I mean, you know, today's program was just packed with lots of information.
Yeah.
Lots of information.
I feel defeated.
That makes you go, All right. So now it's our pick of the day. And now our pick of the day for our whiskey tastings. Let's see what bubbled to the top. Did the whiskey that we have receive a thumbs up or thumbs down? And this is the Whistle Pig Straight Rye Whiskey, 100 proof, $99. I thought there was some butterscotch and caramel taste to that. You said that there was a smooth bite that you had when you have this. Mike, what is your rating on the Whistle Pig?
You know, I'm gonna give it a thumbs down.
You're gonna give it a thumbs down? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the taste is great.
Yeah.
The bite is quickly overtakes it.
Okay.
And I think we talked about it. I've had cheaper whiskeys that are smoother and taste better.
Yeah, during one of our commercial breaks. So, sorry, you guys, you didn't hear this. We were talking about much cheaper whiskey that gives us a better aroma and a better taste for that.
Yeah, I mean, the taste is good, but the bite is so quick that
it really defeats the rest.
It really takes the taste away, yeah.
And you know what? I am going to have to concur with you also. I'm going to give it a thumbs down. Really, because our rating was nose, palate, finish, uniqueness, value, and overall ratings. And so the nose, I gave it a thumbs up. The palate, I gave it a thumbs down. The finish, I gave it a thumbs down. Uniqueness, I gave it a thumbs up. Value, I gave it a thumbs down. So overall, that means I have more thumbs down. So it's a thumbs down also.
It's too bad. I was looking forward to thumbs up a pig whistle.
Yeah, well, no, Whistle Pig is going to have to be for somebody else that wants to spend $100 on a bottle, and maybe if you mixed it with something. But again, if you have to mix your whiskey.
Sounds like you've been mixing your whiskey, right?
If you have to mix your whiskey, then I have a little bit of a problem with that because I like to have the straight taste. So that is going to end our show. Mike, it's great having you back. Next week's episode, I'm pretty excited about. We're going to do a challenge.
Okay.
We're going to do a challenge. We're going to play a traditional board game.
Okay.
And we're going to see if your deductive reasoning will beat my geek logical analysis. So I have an analysis to compare with that. So make sure you guys listen to next week's episode. Join us on Wednesdays. Again, all of our podcasts become available on Wednesdays afternoons, and we look forward to seeing you guys then. Everybody have a great day.
See you later.
All right, bye-bye. Thank you for joining us for TechTime Radio today. I'm your host, Nathan Mumm. Hopefully you enjoyed talking technology and, of course, having a little whiskey on the side. Remember, as we leave, Mumm's the word. Thank you for listening. If you like the show and want to learn more, please check us out at techtimeradio.com or on YouTube or your favorite podcast service. Just look for TechTime Radio with Nathan Mumm.